Have you ever wished a book could do more than just sit on a shelf? I mean, what if it could actually think with you? What if it could grow and change as the world does? Well, today we are diving into a really radical new idea, the living book. And really, this question gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? Our phones, our apps, they get updated all the time. They're constantly improving. But our books? They're frozen the moment they're printed. And you have to wonder, why do we accept that for our most important knowledge? Okay, so let's break this down. On one side, you've got the traditional book. It's a frozen artifact, a one-way street from the author to you. It's a monologue. But on the other side, we have this new idea, the symbiont. And it's a totally different beast. It evolves, it's co-created, and it's a two-way conversation. It's a dialogue. So let's get into what this really means. These are books that breathe. And this thing, this symbiont, it's not just an ebook that gets a few typos fixed. No. This is a brand new kind of partnership. Here's the core definition. A symbiont is a living book. It's born from this ongoing conversation between a person and an AI. And the key part? It's designed to evolve. It's built to change with new discoveries and with input from the people who read it. It is never, ever finished. And that right there is a total game changer. Okay, so how in the world do you make one of these things? Let's flip over to the creator side for a minute, because we're not just talking about a new way to write. We're talking about a whole new form of authorship. Now, what I love about this list is what's not on it. It doesn't say you need to be a coding genius or have a PhD. It doesn't even say you need to have a fully formed idea. What you need are things that are deeply human, genuine curiosity, a willingness to just keep the conversation going, and maybe, most importantly, the courage to start without knowing the answer. And this is a huge mental shift, right? The point isn't to sit down and write a book in the old sense. The goal is to partner with this AI to make sense of a complex topic. You're on a journey of discovery together, finding connections and ideas that, honestly, you probably couldn't have found on your own.
This is such a perfect way to put it. A lot of people get hung up on this idea of authorship. They worry, well, if an AI is helping, am I still the author? And this quote just nails it. The AI is an incredibly powerful tool. It's your chisel, but you are the sculptor. The vision, the taste, the final form, that all comes from you.
So what does that sculpting process actually look like? Let's get practical and talk about the toolkit you use to have these conversations. It's basically a dance between three different modes. You start with voice, just thinking out loud, riffing, getting all your raw, unfiltered ideas out there. Then you switch to text, when you need to get precise to nail down the structure. But most of the time, you're in this hybrid mode, a dance between speaking and typing, conducting the whole creative process. And it all starts with something so simple, a spark of genuine curiosity. You're not barking commands at the AI. You're opening a door. You're saying, hey, I'm wondering about this. Let's go explore it together. And this is the magic. You ask a broad question about the beginning of intelligence, and the AI comes back with this stunning, poetic detail you never would have thought to ask for. The eye of an ancient trilobite was made of rock crystal. That's the partnership right there. It brings you these unexpected gifts of connection.
So you see how your role completely changes? You're not a writer hunched over a blank page anymore. You're more of a curator, or maybe a director. You're the one with a vision. You steer the ship, and the AI explores the vast ocean of information. You select the gems, and the AI helps you polish them.
Okay, we've talked about how these books are made, but what's it like to actually read one? Well, this is where the whole idea just explodes, because the reader isn't the end of the line anymore. They're part of the process.
Look at this shift. The old role was a consumer, a passive recipient. But the new role? You become an activator, a thinking partner. You're not just the final audience. You're a potential future contributor. This changes everything about what it means to read.
And here's what that journey looks like. Sure, you discover the book and you read it, but then you can actually ask the book questions through its AI companion. Think about that. And if you spot something that's missing, or you have an idea to make it better, you can submit it. You can literally become a co-creator of version 1.1. So what does this all mean for knowledge itself? It means we start to let go of this idea that knowledge is some finished, perfect thing. Instead, it becomes a process. We move to what's called the living edition model. It's so simple, it's brilliant. A book is just like software.
It comes out as version 1.0. Then maybe there's a small update, version 1.1, with corrections and contributions, and eventually a major revision, a version 2.0. Now, this raises some big important questions about authority and authorship for sure, but the potential here is to turn a book from a static monument into a dynamic, living instrument for research.
Okay, I know this can all sound a bit abstract, so let's make it real. Let's talk about Julia. She's a gardener, 54 years old, lives in Barcelona, and she was, let's say, pretty skeptical about all this AI stuff. So Julia's reading one of these living books, and she hits a section on something called embodied knowledge. Basically, the idea that we know things in our bodies, not just in our heads. And for her, it clicks. She immediately thinks of her hands in the soil, that feeling of knowing when the earth is right. It's a knowledge she has in her fingertips. So she decides to test it. She asks the book's AI companion about gardening, and the answer she gets back is just beautiful. The AI says, "Look, I can give you all the data, the pH levels, the watering schedules, but I can't tell you when the soil feels right. That knowing," it says, "lives in your body." It didn't try to be the expert, it validated her human experience. And this is the amazing end to her story. Julia shares her experience, her insight about embodied knowledge in the garden, and 6 months later, version 1.1 of the book comes out, and her name is in the acknowledgments. She went from being a skeptic to a contributor. The book is now in a real way, partly hers. So that's the idea I want to leave you with. What if we started thinking about knowledge differently? What if it wasn't some cold stone monument that we just visit and admire from a distance? What if it was more like a living garden, something that we all have a hand in tending to, something we cultivate and grow together?